Peace and greetings. Presenting the Network of Awareness podcast radio station, providing in-depth information on society and culture in America and abroad, bringing you truth messages of inspiration, keen insight, reputable interviews, and so much more. So now, for the truth you've been waiting for, your host of the Network of Awareness podcast, ORRa, the informationalist.
Yes, peace and greetings, people. Welcome to the Network of Awareness on this Wisdom Wednesday and also Testament Thursday. So this is actually a Wisdom Wednesday show on a Testament Thursday. And we got none other than Auxakai that's going to be coming on to the show from the Alpha Talk series and 101 with Auxakai. Today's episode is Simping in the Darkness. And we're going to cover a lot of different topics about what's going on in America as far as the controlled opposition from Ye West or Kanye, as well as how the masculine principles are completely being desecrated here in the United States through liberalism. And also we're going to discuss how the feminine energy is being very much distorted and how that energy has no respect for the masculine energy. And we just have a very unstable society when it comes to relationships, where the relationship dynamic between a man and a woman is it's not in a good place right now. And we're going to discuss these different issues and social ills throughout the United States and abroad, and try to shed some light on this. So we're going to talk about some simping in the light and simping in the darkness, people. So I want to welcome you to today's show, which is episode 88 of season 4, Simping in the Darkness with brother Auxakai. Let's get it popping, baby.
You are now tuned in to the Network of Awareness.
All right, welcome to the show, brother Auxakai from Alpha Talk series. Shalom, brother.
Shalom, peace, family.
Peace. Glad to have you on the show. And why don't we get this show started, brother? Like, I know we came up with this title the other day. I think it was yesterday when we was talking about simping in the darkness. But we're going to discuss a lot of things today because there's so much going on. And the first thing I want to talk about is something I brought up in my previous show. It's a big topic, especially when it comes to simping, right? The particular simping that we're going to talk about when it comes to Kanye West is he's simping in the light. Yo, the brother's simping in the light, but instead of simping in the darkness, let's talk about that because, bro, I mean, there's a lot of different perspectives on this, right? Mm-hmm. And just like you, I don't really like talking about celebrities. It's not my thing. It's not what I do. But in this case, I have to talk about it from my show because it has to deal with propaganda. And that's why I'm talking about it, because this is heavy duty controlled opposition, in my opinion, from what I'm seeing. And Kanye is no different than like an Alex Jones, for the exception that he has way more money than Alex. And he also is more of a celebrity status. So with all that being said, what's your perceptions on what you've been seeing? Because I know you've been having conversations with friends and family about this. It's all over the media, commercial and social. What do you think is going on with the fact that he's now basically speaking this truth about how black people are true Jews of Judaism, of the children of Israel, the children that are spoken of in scriptures? So these people come from this heritage, this understanding, this covenant with the Most High. And now he's speaking it like he's woke and like he's a whole new person. So what do you think about that?
I would say, to me, it sounds like a distraction. It sounds like a psyop thing to me, because why now? Why are you deciding to do all this now? Kanye and his history of one foot in the door, one foot out the door. I mean, he's been doing this for the longest. Like I remember when he first got started, before he blew up into Kanye West, the one we know of now. When he first was getting his start, he started off with Jesus Walk, then morphed into the industry. And then, it's like off and on with him. He's hot and cold, To me, it seems like it's something else going on. I always pay attention to what they don't want you to see. But for him to have, for one, I think he has the green light to even speak on such situations and topics that he's discussing now. And Kanye, I mean, I just can't take him seriously. I think he's a musical genius, yes, but certain things with this guy, it's always hot and cold with him. You know what I mean? So to me, it's like he has the green light to speak on these things now, because they really didn't want him to talk about it. He want to be able to do it. You know what I mean? Especially on live air and, TV and the internet, the way that he is. It's more like, to me, it's like you said, it's a woke thing. Now he want to have this woke conscious going on with people, and there's a lot of people in woke America that easily feed into this shit. Now they want to speak about how much of, his Hebrew languages that he has, and how he's trying to wake up and do well for the so-called black people. You know what I mean? So to me, it's just a distraction. Kanye is always going to be the guy that he is to me. You know what I mean? He's nothing more but a puppet. And for the fact that he's still talking about how much money that he lost and he still has, I can't take him seriously. You know what I mean? Like that's a big red flag for me too, because if this really is about him trying to cross back over, into his so-called Hebrew part of him, then why are you still talking about money? You know what I mean? That to me is a red flag. Going to these so-called people for deals, and like, because I went through my Instagram this morning and I see nothing but Kanye West. It said something about him getting turned down for TJ Maxx. So why are you still looking to sell your product or go and make a deal with these people if you already know what they are? You know what I mean? Like, you can't lay in the bed with devils and expect to get good results, blessings from it. You know what I mean? And that's how I feel with Kanye. To me, it just seems like he just have a woke eureka moment right now. It's nothing more but to gain publicity. And the fastest way to do that now is to do what? Is to use the woken people in America. You know what I mean? Speak on controversial topics such as the Hebrews and, black people being the true Jews. It's a great way to start collecting more black people to follow towards you. And it's working. Like I said, me and you spoke about this off air, but I spoke to a few friends and family members, and they're all thinking the same. Like, oh, well, he's speaking about black people. I'm like, yeah, but it's just a hook and bait. You know what I mean? You can't take him seriously. At least I can't. You know what I mean? he haven't put forth any effort yet for me to be like, I have to take him seriously on that account. It's easy to talk about it. You know what I mean? It's easy to talk about it now. We're in a pretty much in an era to where it's not so much of a secret no more. You know, just like how the so-called elite and the powers that be, everybody knows about the quote-unquote Illuminati now. You know what I mean? So it's not much of a secret, but more of a forefront now. At least that's how I look at it.
Well, I think that you're right about the distraction, and the distraction could be for something that's to come. I mean, I think that the distraction is coming at a time where it's very interesting because we have these midterm elections going on.
Mm-hmm.
We have an administration that is doing some horrific things when it comes to America. You have an economy that can somewhat collapse any minute, like literally from any day. There could be a major depression or recession, right?
Absolutely.
And on top of that, you have this real big push with the science appliance being administered to children now. A heavy push, to be exact. And then a heavy push for sickness that's supposedly going to be coming for this winter, like a rise in influenza and many other things. And I just think about this dude is jumping on this bandwagon of truth. But I'm also thinking about how there's a lot of manipulation to what you were saying in regards to the truth community, where there's these people that are woken. They call it the woke or whatever. But reality, it's just people that have been around for a long time. People that are not going along with the bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been around for a long time. And we're just getting better and better because now we have the internet. And because of the internet, we can expose these demons a lot quicker, which is a beautiful thing in my opinion. But also, when it comes to Kanye, I can't help but to think that it's like it's like his ego is so inflated, and so many of these celebrities now, they're not relevant, right? We talked about this. And by the way, people, if you haven't checked out, I did a 4-man forum with Brother Auxakai, Take One, and Julian Sanders. And we talked about this very topic in regards to Kanye West, in regards to that documentary that came out on Netflix about him. And we gave a whole breakdown about his life and how he came into the music industry and how he had an opportunity to get out, but he was too thirsty for fame. And as you can see now, Brother Auxakai and I think that he's not even the real Kanye. He is just a synthetic clone version, but that's a story for another day. But that version of him still can't let go of that egoic nature. And I talked about it before on my show, where he talked about he's like one of the top 3 writers in the world or something crazy like that. Then he said he had more money than George Soros, which is insane because George Soros pays billions of dollars in taxes. So it's like that type of wealth is super wealth. He's not even on that level. But the fact that he's allowed to say that, you and I know that if this was real, if this was some real like rebellion, you know, getting out of the order, out of the bond that he has with these dark forces, that he would be dead by now.
Absolutely.
And he wouldn't even have a clone no more.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree on that.
I wanted to say something before you chime in on this, because what I wanted to say to you is that there's a lot of propaganda with the truth community as far in regards to this understanding of how melanated people are not the people that they've been described to be in American society. Because I think so much of American society, when it comes to Hollywood and these major institutions that are run by the synagogues, is that there's been such a big push to demonize so-called black people to the point where so many slavery movies have infiltrated the subconscious mind of melanated people in this country and around the world, to where it's almost this short period of time. Matter of fact, a short period of time of a 7-year term of slavery when you start to understand who the true Jews are. But a short period of time of which is a little over 400 years, but so focused on to where it becomes this reality now. And because of that, a lot of melanated people, when you have somebody like Kanye West saying, you know, black people are the real Jews and that we are not stupid and we're not animals. We have a lot of, we the creators of technology and culture and science and everything that is, that this makes this world go round. We are the innovators and the ingenuitors, or no, there's no such word, but we've brought this ingenuity to civilization, even to modern day civilization, even to America, right? All this knowledge is out here, and a lot of people are starting to bring that out. So when you have a celebrity like him, and let's say like The Rock, like I've been seeing The Rock on TikTok a lot, and he's doing the live TikTok, and I'm like, bro, you're doing live TikToks now? And it's like all these celebrities, we talked about this, where they're just trying to get in where they can. You know what I mean? And trying to be like, yeah, we homies. We peoples. Yeah. Black people are the real Jews. You know, and you got other people saying we're all together. Like, you know, they try to say that they're against the government and shit like that. And it's all mumbo jumbo. But you got a lot of brothers and sisters that are gravitating to that propaganda and they're putting out video. And now they start, you know, we got people trying to give him a pass because he says he's Christian. Like he just told you he sold his soul for a Happy Meal, but now he's Christian and he loves Jesus Christ. So
exactly.
Let's all just jump on the Kanye bandwagon now. And they can't see the deception, bro. And furthermore, too, speaking of deception, what I'm starting to also see is this whole Black against Latino movement and trying to paint the Latino as the new white supremacist. And I can't help but to think, like, for you people that are listening to the show, do not get caught up in that, because that is a major division right now that is being perpetrated. Like, granted, listen, let's just call it what it is. There's a lot of so-called Latino people that are racist and they have major prejudices towards black people, towards white people. But so there are black people like that and white people. And with the media and with these institutions, these government institutions that are all about manipulation, you know, like when it comes to the CIA and the FBI and just all the social conditioning engineering projects that are going on. The big one right now, along with what we're talking about with these celebrities, is this pinning so-called Hispanic Latino people against Negro black people and trying to paint them as the new face for white supremacy. So be careful of that. And they're doing that with Asian people too and all that. So I'm just saying, be careful with that, people, because that's a major psyop operation that's going on right now. That's all I want to say, brother. Yeah.
Oh, no. As far as like, go back and reiterate what you were saying. Like, I had a conversation with a family member of mine's, and we were speaking on the whole Kanye situation. And this family member is like, well, you know, you can't just judge him, and that's up to the Most High. And, you know, he said that, well, the way she used the term, I knew she didn't know exactly what she was saying, but she was like, there's a difference between Jews and Israelites. And, you know, I had to stop this family member. Like, you know, I've been talking to you for a couple of years now about this, you know, but now that Kanye West is coming out with it, you're running with it. You know what I mean? You label me as being a quote unquote cultist or being a part of a cult. But now that you're hearing this from a celebrity's mouth, it's real now. I'm like, so you have to really figure out what's real in your life, because like I've been talking about this just like with other people for years now to certain people, but now That's it's right. being publicized by these celebrities. You dub them an honor right there, and that to me is like, wow, you know, like it's like, because this person said it, now it's verified as real, you know, like, so, I think a lot of people still have to learn to let go and stop looking for celebrities for the answer. You know what I mean? Because you're hearing all this from these so-called celebrities doesn't mean that it's not real, but it doesn't mean what your next door neighbor was saying to you wasn't real either. You know what I mean? People have a tendency to go along with the crowd. And that's all that, to me, when you start getting information like this from big celebrities and entertainers, that's all that is just going along with the crowd. And I've always been the way I am. I know I never follow a crowd because there's a bunch of fools in the crowd, let alone wolves in sheep clothing. And I feel like all these celebrities now, they're trying to get more involved with the so-called social media because they know that's where most the group of people is going to be at anyways. Like I see Will Smith consistently on Instagram. And I'm looking at this dude like, why are you here? Nobody really cares. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like they're almost trying to implant themselves into what everybody else is doing. You know what I mean? That's why you probably got like actors like The Rock on TikTok and stuff. It's like they're trying to become another, like pretty much recertify themselves on social media. You know what I mean? Social media has grown substantially with all these people. You know what I mean? You got different creators, different talented people that's on social media now. And that's where most people now go to get their source of entertainment from. Social media, you know what I mean? YouTube and so forth. And now that Hollywood is like pretty much falling down to crumbles because the movie industry is like, it's complete garbage. I watch old movies to get more satisfaction from a lot of new movies I see coming out nowadays. It's almost like these celebrities, they still have to feel like they have to feel validated. And so they're looking to the source of social media where everybody's at to get that validation. You know what I mean? And that's just how social media is pretty much operating, let alone with, you know, relationships and dating, but just in the whole worldwide figure, it's operating on the source of, if you want attention, you want to be validated, go on social media. You know what I mean? That's just how it is now. But yeah, I definitely agree, like with what you were saying. Like, it's like now you have celebrities speaking quote unquote truth or trying to act like they're with the truth. You know, to me, I always go back to the story that I heard from, you know, the Bible. I remember the rich man approached Christ and asked him, you know, how can I inherit the kingdom, the heaven kingdom? And Christ told him, well, look, you got to give away all your wealth. And the guy walked off on Christ because he didn't want to do that. He thought he could buy his way into heaven. If Kanye West is serious about really what he's saying, let him go broke and become an ordinary person. Have to worry about how he's going to survive from a 9 to 5. Then I could take him a little bit more serious. But as of now, no. Like when you're still talking about Forbes, you're still running all these different high companies as far as TJ Maxx, you know, Adidas, and looking for them to give you a deal as far as what you have to offer as far as your product. Can't take you seriously, man.
Well, see, he's lost all those contracts though, you know, so it's just going to be like, I say, give it time to see where it's going to go, because I say give it to like January, February, see where we're at with this, because it's all pretty fresh. And when you think about the way they'd like to distract, there could be some time in between where we just got to have things play out. But I think you broke it down very nicely. I mean, couldn't have said it better myself, brother. Like everything you said is so on point. Where it's like they're trying to gain a position in a market that has completely surpassed Hollywood now. To where now Hollywood is looking for that talent in social media. So it's like there's a kid out there right now that's funny as hell. You know what I mean? Putting out some funny videos, doing all types. Like, you see those videos where people play like the two characters and they're going back and forth playing like two different characters. Some of them are really funny, man. I ain't gonna lie. Like, very talented individuals. Those are the types of people they're looking for. Those are the type of people they seeing that person in potential. Boom, they got a whole social media link to go to now, where before you have people that have to come in and actually like try to get apart, and there's a whole demonic thing that you got to go through with a lot of those, casting couch type of parts that you have to get with the directors and all that. But not to go off in a different tangent, I think that this thing with the celebrities is so obvious, right? But for us, but we always have to remember that you and I have taken the time out to self-examine and to examine our experience in this realm called Earth and really understand what our place is here and understand our connection simply through the foundation of the Most High. Mm-hmm. That's why we're allowed to see these things. But most people haven't taken the time out to do that. Most people don't even have faith in anything, unfortunately. And they are the very people that are gravitating to this nonsense, but it goes back to what I was telling you earlier about the whole human condition when it comes to melanated people and how they've been treated in this country alone. The level of abuse can't even be put into words. It just goes so deep and dark that post-traumatic slave syndrome is real. And not Dr. What's her name? Dr. Joy DeGroy. I hope I'm saying her last name right. But I actually was physically in one of her presentations. Beautiful presentation on post-traumatic slave syndrome and very accurate. And that's what you're seeing, that post-traumatic slave syndrome of people that have been oppressed throughout the Americas, that when you have another melanated figure, no different than a Jesse Jackson, right, brother? Or right. Al Sharpton. Now we got Kanye Sharpton. Because he's now pushing that Christianity thing hard too, right? He's got the Kanye West Church or whatever. He's got that church congregation that be singing and all that. So it's like we're seeing a metamorphosis or a manifestation of the next propaganda pimp. Trying to take a propaganda pimp position. For real. I mean, it's pretty sad, man. But that's what, he's simping in the light. Simping in the light. And then you got those that are simping in the darkness, man. Let's talk about that, right? And why don't you take the lead on this particular topic, simping in the darkness, bro? Let's talk about the whole masculine, feminine energy and how it's being very much distorted, and how a lot of the feminine energy is being very much misguided these days.
I would say, for one, it all starts off with understanding the proper nature of masculinity. You got a lot of men, also a lot of males, should I say, that don't know their value, their self-worth as being a man. And, I said all this probably happened around the 1980s or so, when the crack epidemic happened to set in. This is when the government decided to come up with a new plan to start offering assistance to women. If your man is not able to be a provider, and you guys are not getting along, keep him away, and we can offer help for you, as far as healthcare and, government assistance, and, really start pushing. Well, they started pushing before that, but that's when, as well as child support started to come into play. That happened in pretty much almost like in a roundabout way of saying it kind of conquered a nation of people, different cultures of people. And the reason why I say that is because when you don't have that masculine energy in the house and you have offsprings with this person and you're not around to resign over how your kids is being taught, it at the same time, it pretty much controls, it put a matriarch in control of what your kids are learning. And as a man, there's certain things that a man has to offer. Like I always say, what makes a real man is protection, stability, a teacher as well as an instructor. So if you're not there to instruct your kid on what they shouldn't be doing, it's going to be pretty much echo effect with the woman teaching. Not nothing towards women, but certain women. It takes a man to raise a man, because I would say a man he should be leading with his logic and his reasoning, as well as rationale thinking, his critical thinking. Where most women, they lead with their emotions. They go off what they feel. I notice when I'm having casual conversation with a lot of, guys I know, people around my neighborhood, we're talking about something that, serious subject. They start off the conversation with, I feel. As a man, you shouldn't go off what you feel. You should go off of what you know. You should go off of facts first. But I always say that if you don't have that masculine energy present, it's going to put it's going to alienate you from who you are as a man. Not that a woman can provide for a kid by herself. She can nurture him, but she can't teach him to be a man. Prime example I like to also use too, and I said this in several of my different episodes. You might have a young boy who's 14, 15 years old come to his mom like, yo, I just met this girl in school. I really like her. And the mom's going to tell him, well, treat her right, be nice to her, cherish her, pretty much put her on a pedestal, which is nothing wrong that if it's the right woman. Where if there's a man present and he say, hey, dad, it's this girl in school I really like, and, I really got feelings for her. He's going to say, well, son, this is what my grandfather told me. Son, you got to determine it too. There's two types of women you're going to encounter mostly in life. Mostly it's going to be other components, but there's normally two of them, a wife and a concubine. And you got to understand who you're dealing with, because most women are here to have fun. They're not going to take you seriously. You got to determine if she's the type of woman who's going to be in a random guy's face, having casual conversations, smiling in his face. Or if she's the type of woman who's going to look at you and be like, hey, don't hang around them guys. They're bad news. They like to run the streets, gangbang, whatever. So you got to understand how to determine the two type of women for the most part of who you're dealing with before you even start engaging and giving a part of yourself away. And I mean, once a man understands that and pass on to his kid, that would stop a lot of chaos that's happening. Another thing my grandfather told me, when I was coming to him about women when he was alive, he used to tell me, well, you're still young. Don't be 18, 19 years old, call yourself rushing into life so quick. You're still a child yourself trying to navigate life. Figure out what you want to do first in life. And the woman will always be there, Did I take his advice at the time? No. So it made me think because, at that time I was about 16, 17 before he passed. So it made me think, how life would have been different if I still had that masculine principle still around. I went through life, had to figure out from the old heads, the elders, what a lot of people like to call the manosphere and the red pill talk and all this. All that is code language for old school talk that used to be around in the barbershops. I used to hear men talk about the way they talk now, masculine wise, my whole life, in barbershops, this, group functions as far as barbecues. I hang out with the old heads, listen to them. It's it's been here for a while. So-called Kevin Samuels just went public with it. And I would say this too. I don't agree with all his ideology, but he does have some ideology I do have to agree with. All he did was told women the truth. You can't be an average woman looking to have this 5-10% man in this, so-called work atmosphere, making 7 to 10 figures, and just think you're entitled to them. You got to know what your worth is. What do you really have to offer that man besides your look? And I feel like that's where the lack of masculinity comes from too, because women feel because they're in this whole new era to where pretty much the United States, Babylon caters to the woman. Nobody really expects so much from the woman other than what they're here for. So when it comes to a man, he's got to have different standards. He has to know how to take accountability for himself. He has to know, all right, everything I do in my life is going to affect me, rather it's temporarily right now or in the long haul. So if you're the type person who wanted to get out there and start flipping kilos and shit, you're going to have to know, like, sooner or later, you might come up to where you might get locked up and have to sit down for 10 years or 5 years or whatever they handed out. So you have to be mindful, have a 3-dimensional mind scale of what you're doing, and what you're doing could pretty much determine your future and your outcome. And not to me, women, no shade against women, thinks on the long haul of the 3-dimensional scale as far as what they're doing right now and how it can affect them later. That's where the 2D mind comes in. You're only doing for what they see right now, what's in front of them. Oh, I'm having a good time with this guy. You know what I mean? I know he's a drug dealer, but I love him. He got money. As soon as the dude get locked up, you know what I mean? Now it's like, okay, well, he was a good dude. You know, he's providing money, but I got to find somebody else. She's not thinking about the long haul. You know, so you got some women who might wait or claim they're going to wait for that dude. But really, what type of future are you going to have if the guy's not willing to change his atmosphere and who he is as a man? So, and that's why I always say, like, you know, like, far as masculinity is very important, you know what I mean? And also the whole shade of simping in the darkness. You got a lot of dudes who are, you know, in other words, who, they know who they are. They know what their worth is. But when it comes to the woman, I always say the woman is the man's greatest challenge. I feel like that's always going to be a thing. You know, it's always going to have to come down to a man falling for a woman, if he's falling for a woman in that way, to know his logical thinking is going to damn sure going to conflict with his emotions. He got to know how to separate the two and make the great decision for him. And a lot of dudes, I'll say this, a lot of dudes put up with the woman because they tolerate more than they should. You know what I mean? You know when a woman is being disrespectful towards you, but you love her so much and you have a scarcity mindset that you don't want to let go of her because that's how much your feelings is so strong for her. And I see it all the time. I mean, you got a lot of miserable husbands who the only peace of mind that they get is when they after work, maybe when they at a bar having a drink, or when they're in their car driving home from work and there's no total silence before they get home and have to deal with their wife. There's a lot of dudes who make decisions based off of a temporary feeling that might not last. You know what I mean? So that's where my whole ideology comes from with the whole simping in the darkness. You have to know your value. And I mean, I kind of went left and right and digressed and went, you know, all over with it. But you have to know your self-worth and value as a man and where your importance is on this earth. You know what I mean? The greatest thing worth more than money, worth more than anything that the Most High gave the man is the power to recreate your seed. And most women, even a modern day woman, desire your seed so much that when she get it, she might just cut you off after she get it. But that's what most women truly desire, is to be a mother and a wife. The white part right now is questionable, but to be a mother is absolute. You know what I mean? I always say a woman can never love a man the way she will love her kids, unconditionally, willing to die for them. You rarely, if few between none, will find a woman who's willing to do that for a man.
Well, let's talk about that. Do you really believe that a lot of women these days, a modern day woman, cares about their kids more than their man? Because the reason I ask that
absolutely
is because the level of the do me attitude, or should we say, the do me attitude of women these days, of modern day women. I think a lot of them don't even love their kids unconditionally or their spouses. I think a lot of them, which you're seeing a lot of too. And this was a thing back in the days, man. It's not spoken about too much, but you're starting to see it in movies here and there, where they're starting to show how the women were leaving relationships and leaving the kids high and dry with the man to raise those kids by himself. And you'd be surprised that throughout the 60s and then eventually the 70s and the 80s, that women started doing that more often, running off with a man or just doing their own thing and saying, you know what, I don't want to take care of these kids. I don't want to be with this man no more. I want to just do me. And with the modern day woman being as selfish as she is, and narcissistic women is on a rise to where they're catching up to the narcissistic man, which traditionally narcissistic men have been around for a long, long time, you know, for the ages. So we're seeing a rise now in women where back in the days, a lot of our ancestors, a lot of our grandmothers, great grandmothers, they knew what was up. They had respect for the masculine principle at a high level.
Oh yeah.
And it's those very women that are very disappointed in the women that they're seeing today, where they look at them like hussies. You know what I'm saying? That's what my ex's grandmother would call her, a hussy.
Yeah, I remember that word. I heard it before.
Right. She is a hussy. And unfortunately, she was a hussy at 21 years old, and she's a hussy at 40-something years old. You know what I'm saying? It's unfortunate, but it's like you're seeing a lot of this toxic, selfish behavior from women to where it's like, I don't even know if a lot of them can love unconditionally at all, because a lot of them are lacking empathy. Like, it's only about their selfish desire and their lust for living that viva loca in layman's terms. You know what I'm saying? Living the viva loca. Like that, that's what you're seeing a lot of right now with women from all different cultural backgrounds. And it's making it hard. And listen, I'm not just trying to shit on women or anything. I want people to think that I'm like dogging women, but I'm just talking about it from how I see it, to where there are good women out there, but it's just scarce. It's scarce. And the same thing is for men too, right? But when it comes to simping in the darkness, I think a lot of men are simping in the darkness because of that hyper aggression energy from women these days. That almost comes off as masculine energy. Like they're trying to be alphas. They're trying to be
exactly what it is.
Trying to be the man. And a lot of men are becoming the women, and that's when they turn into the simp in the darkness, in the shadows. Because they don't want other men knowing that they're simping to their woman, because their woman is running their life, telling them how to think, telling them how to make moves. You know what I'm saying? To the point, and I've seen this early on. Like, I've seen this when I was in my 18, 19, 20. In my early 20s, I saw it with a friend who, he had a narc girlfriend at the time. I didn't even know narcissism, what that was. But now looking at how she was behaving at the time, you know, it was one of those situations where you ever have those brothers that you hang out with back in the days, or even recently, or people in your family where you hear them speak, but you know it's not them talking. Like that's somebody else talking through them, because they don't really have a mind of their own. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they're very much complacent in becoming a go with the flow type of individual.
Yeah, definitely. I would say this, like, this crossed my mind when you were speaking on this, but there's a family member who, you know, at one point was listening to my shows, and me and this person had a, you know, one-on-one conversation, and I told him, I said, sometimes you got to learn to have a backbone, and when you say something, mean it. You know what I mean? Mean what you say. And for whatever reason, this person decided to go back and tell his significant other what I said. What I said. So,
hey, that's what a simp does.
Exactly. And you know, put me on the spot with this other family member. Like, did you say that? And I'm like, yeah, I did say that. You know what I mean? That was supposed to be a man's term, but obviously I was talking to a male at the time. So, you know, like, I didn't realize how level of simping that it was that he was doing. But you got a lot of men who just so, it's almost like the roles changed. They're scared to be alone. You know what I mean? So they crave so much of the compassion from a woman to where they tolerate more than what they should from the opposite sex. You know what I mean? And it's always been like that. So, I mean, you got a lot of men who masquerade like they, you know, like they wear the pants in a relationship where really it's not true. You know what I mean? And honestly, that's really reserved between them and the woman, but don't come off with this energy like you run everything when you know that's not true. You know, you got a lot of women who got very masculine energy who dictate what's going to happen in a relationship, on what level and the speed of how it's going to happen. And then a lot of men, it just, you know, tucking their tail between their legs and going bound down to it. To me, it's like, if you love your woman, you can love your woman. There's nothing wrong with doing nothing for your woman as far as like, you know, keeping maintenance with her, getting her hair done. That's what a man should do. You know what I mean? He should take care of his woman. But when you like sitting up there and just being fully emasculated by your woman, and I've seen this happen with this individual in public, like full emasculation, you know what I mean? And I look at this dude because I feel more sorry for him than he does for himself, because he don't understand his value of his role on this earth. You know what I mean? If you're so-called a breadwinner, how are you being fully emasculated like this? You know what I mean? And they tolerate more than they should. You know what I mean? And then when the woman finally get tired of it and decides to move on from the individual, they're heartbroken and disgusted because they don't understand why. And it's like, you don't understand why. For one, you didn't lay down boundaries. Two, you didn't have the courage to say, no, it's not going to happen like this. You know what I mean? If you have a problem with that, oh, well, have a good day. And I find that with a lot of men nowadays, that's becoming a difficult thing to say. You know, like, there's nothing more better than being at peace of mind by yourself than tolerating something that you know, consistent argument, bickering and complaining all the time. Like, if some men is happy with that, then hey, that's your life. Then hey, you living a life as a full simp. That's what makes you happy. Who am I to judge you? But if you really want to find an unconditional love, a woman who truly respects you and your masculine principles, you have to stop being in scarcity mode and know your value. For one, you got to learn who you are as a man and understand your value and what you have to offer. Until you understand that, nobody's going to respect you.
You know, it's funny you say that because you're right on point. And a lot of times what happens, and this would happen to me, where I would go into simp mode myself, where it's like you want to have that peace of mind. So instead of like combating and kind of checking the bad behavior or the disrespect or just the out of hand shit that shouldn't be tolerated, because you just want to have peace of mind because you care about your partner, you care about this woman or whatever. It's like a lot of men just kind of shut themselves off. You know what I'm saying? And I've done this where it's like you just want to have that peace of mind. So it's almost like you blank out the sound and you're just going to let them do or say what they want to say. And you're just going to try to keep calm because you really don't even want to exert the energy. But in your mind, you're a little stressed out about it. But the way you deal with it is you're just like, I'm just going to stay quiet because I don't even want to put any energy to this. The sooner she gets this out of her system, the better off I will be, where I can just get to continue to live my life and not be stressed the hell out at this current moment. And a lot of men do that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of men do that. And I've done it where it's like I just would try to quiet off the rant in my mind so it can get over with. But at the same time, that's simpish behavior because it's like you have to check that. You can't just let that run rampant, even though you want to be at peace. Sometimes, like you said, you just got to get away, man. That's really what it is, too. And that's why I'm grateful that I did that show, because that show was very therapeutic for me. The one I did about no more benefits for the doubts. That shit is like, it's so true. Like, a lot of brothers give too much benefit of the doubt. And when you find yourself in those predicaments, it's almost like, do you really want to work through that? Like, do you want to like try to work that out? Or do you really, would it be better to find a situation where that doesn't ever exist?
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
It kind of reminds me of like, it's like, that's why I feel like the roles has switched, like, significantly between men and women, because at one point it used to be the woman who used to find a broken man and feel she could fix him and change it. Now I'm starting to see that with men. You find a woman who got these traits and they always say like, oh, it'll get better. She'll learn to love me. If it's not getting better right then and there, it's not going to get better later on, unless you working towards that. But if the woman has to have some kind of sense of level of respect with you. She has to trust that you're going to lead her in the right direction. A lot of these women are so masculine where they don't even want the man to lead her. You know what I mean? It's like they want to do the leading. and it's just, and that's why I say, like, if it doesn't get better from there and she has no respect for you, she's never going to learn to have none until you man up and say, you know what, I'm done. I'm done with all this. She will have much more respect for you leaving her, because she know you got the strength to leave her alone and leave her than she would with you sitting there tolerating all that shit.
Another thing too, brother, is that it's like I was just reading scriptures yesterday in Genesis, how Adam and Eve, and how Eve just didn't want to hold herself accountable to even to the Most High for, basically listening to the serpent. But it's like, I'm seeing a lot of that where there's a lack of accountability with women these days because they haven't taken the time out to heal, and then men come into these women that they're trying to fix their problems. But it's like men should be getting a woman who took the time out to heal from whatever trauma she experienced from another relationship or whatever experience she had with her family, whether it be abuse, sexually, physically, mentally, psychologically. Like, when I went through my trauma with my daughter's mom and having to deal with that baby mama drama for so many years and the court systems and the systematic racism and all of that extra stuff, I took time to heal, brother. You know what I'm saying? I went, like, after the last relationship I had, I went 10 years. I went 10 years, over 10 years of not being in a relationship. Why? Because I wasn't ready and I wanted to heal from that stuff, rediscover myself, be comfortable with who I am as a man, and then start dating and stuff. And that's exactly what I did. That's why I was very content where I was at, because I'm like, I took the time to heal. I'm not bringing my past into my present. And a lot of women are not doing that. They're not taking the time out to heal from past situations. And then they're jumping into the next situation and next. And they're not even having self-respect with their bodies. It's like they're treating their bodies like a freaking cum bucket that just gets tossed around. You know what I'm saying? It's very disgusting. But at the same time, they should hold themselves to a higher regard if they're literally looking at themselves as queens and really looking at themselves as spiritual royalty when it comes to the human family, as women that they are the givers or the conduits to life. Like, the most, you got to pass through a woman's womb to come into this realm. And it's like they're using that same womb as a tool for manipulation.
I totally agree. And that's how, that enigma about the rebound guy started. Like, most women, they, like you said, they don't take that time to heal. So when they get out of a relationship with somebody who they really care about, they quickly rush into another one. Because, like, it kind of goes with that replacement thing, And then, things fall apart with the new guy, and they realize, okay, I still have feelings for the old guy. You know what I mean? So all it's doing is causing a bunch of confusion. You know what I mean? And that's why, as a man, you have to know who you're dealing with. It's not too hard to tell if a woman's really over someone. You ask certain questions. I try not to ask so much about the past, but I do. And I ask questions like, why do you guys break up? And how long have you been single? Questions like this. So I have a kind of an insight what's going on, because it's important so you can know who you're dealing with. And I mean, women lie too, just like men, so you might not get the straight answer right away. But yeah, you're going to have women who just, to they heal, it's going to bring confusion into their next relationship. It's just bringing baggage, continue baggage from one relationship to another. And a lot of women, they don't understand, and as well as men too, until you actually, because men go through this too, until you actually go through a healing process. I think a lot of people had this enigma to where it's like you could pretty much, all right, I want to get over with somebody who I really care about. So the best way to do that is to meet somebody else. And, that's not necessarily true. The best way to do that is to take that time, regather yourself, deal with your emotions, your feelings. And then when you're ready to go out and meet, that healing process is a big, big world of difference, because all you're doing is carrying one toxic trait to another person that caused that relationship to become toxic as well.
Absolutely. I agree with you, brother. And another thing about that too is, and this is what I've been learning from people that specialize in codependency, narcissistic abuse recovery, toxic relationship recovery, abuse, and all that type of stuff. Like, people that focus on these types of matters. One of the things that they focus on is, like, when you get out of a relationship, a very tasking and exhausting toxic relationship, You have to kind of rediscover yourself, and that takes time. And then when you are rediscovering yourself, because they specifically, and this is a proven fact, that the neural pathways, the circuitry within your brain patterns and like things that you do, they get twisted when you're with a toxic person. So it's like you kind of lose yourself. This is where you kind of lose some sanity of reality, where you have this cognitive dissonance, right? It's called cognitive dissonance. And the cognitive dissonance, man, that really can take you down a really dark path where you start to lose yourself, literally. Like you start to lose your identity as the person that you was before you started experiencing this trauma and abuse. So what you have to do when you're getting out of these relationships, instead of going from one to the next, it's like, come back to yourself, start doing things that you enjoy doing by yourself, for yourself. And then on top of that, start doing new things that you've never done before to elevate yourself and to bring yourself to a higher understanding and meaning to your life. So that way you could be better than you was before, because that's the only way you can move forward when dealing with this. Because if not, like you were mentioning about just bringing that baggage of trauma, you know, you got the trauma truck filled with a bunch of bullshit that you haven't resolved and healed from. And you're just introducing it to the next person and the next person and the next person. And I know this from personal experience. I can speak about it because it happened to me not too long ago in the last relationship I was. This person brought a lot of issues that they have to really fix within themselves before they should be with anybody. The problem is, and it's not just with women, it's with men too, is that they really just don't want to. They have the desire to. Let's not get it twisted. Like they in their heart, deep in their heart, they know that they should, but they just don't want to put in that legwork. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to take that time, because that shit comes with a lot of responsibility and a lot of discipline and a lot of dedication. I could tell you from firsthand experience, not dating for so long and even being celibate for a long period of time, you know, that I was like that. I had my little flings in that 10-year period, but there was stints where I literally went like 2 to 3 years celibate, because I was like, I'm not gonna focus on this shit. You know what I mean? And it comes with a lot of discipline, because when you're in that state of mind, that's when it gets thrown at you. That's when the real situations where women are going to try to, you know, come at you. And the same thing for women that are in that. Men are going to come at them and holler at them, and they're going to be real attractive and charming. And it's like, you just have to be like, you know what? This is not what I need right now in my life. And just learn how to turn it away and not get caught up in it. And I did that. It wasn't easy, but it was the best thing I could do. And what really helped me too, that made it a little easier, was the fact that I had my daughter, had a lot of other obligations to my family, where it was kind of easy to be focused on that instead of focusing on getting in a relationship. But these women today, bro, something else. I know they're good ones out there. They're just like little needles in the haystack, though. But they out there, you know? That's why you gotta brush those haystacks out the way to try to find the needle. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's important for men, speaking to all the men, is like, focus on being the best version of what the Most High wants you to be, man. That's how I look at it now. It's like, I'm going to be the best version of what the Most High intended for me through his word, and live in that conscious state and spiritual state of mind of working towards being a righteous man according to the word. And of course, I'll make mistakes, but the more I go along with the word and being rooted in it, the smaller the mistakes will be, to where I can be a man that is of completion of that righteousness. You know what I'm saying? In this toxic environment, it's very possible. It just comes with a lot of discipline. And I think a lot of us need to focus on that, because the more we get in tune with that, with the Most High, and being a servant for the Most High and not the world, whew, it's like almost like I feel like, you know, the woman that you need to be with, or the type of loving that you desire will come. The Most High will look out. I think the Most High graces those who serve him well.
But most men, like, I always try to push that you keep the Most High in the forefront. That's what's going to determine your outcome of what's really going to be, what you're really going to be made of. Keep the Most High first. Like, he always look out for those that deeply keep him in the forefront. You can never go wrong. You will never fail in my eyes as long as you do that. You're going to meet people. Like I said, there are some people count it as losses. I count it as lessons, all how you determine how you look at it. Like certain people are just here to teach you lessons, and for the most part, you shouldn't need another person to feel fulfilled. All you need is the Most High in yourself. You have to feel comfortable with you. You have to love you first. I think a lot of people don't really honestly love themselves, and then they expect to get in a relationship hoping that other person could give them that sense of fulfillment that they're looking for within themselves. It's never going to happen. If anything, you're going to come off, your insecurity is going to project a lot more, you know what I mean? And even in my last situation, the person I was dating, I saw that a lot. The person was completely not happy with who she was as a person. It's always physical attributes, mental attributes that she was complaining about. And, I try to tell her best of my ability, you got to learn to start loving yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you don't love yourself, another man is not going to love you the way you could love you. You know what I mean? It's like the physics of nature, how the Most High designed the universe. You have to have some kind of for one, you have to treat yourself with respect. You know what I mean? Just passing yourself around and offering yourself up, thinking that's what's going to entice a person, is get them to stay around, is not going to work. That's just my personal thing. Maybe it works for some people, but for me, I don't see that working. You know what I mean? Having sex off the bat and determine how good the sex was is what might make a person stay. That's like another sign of insecurities to me. But yeah, that's just my perspective on that.
Well said, bro. Yeah, I think we covered a lot in regards to simping in the darkness, people. Might have to do a part 2, brother. What do you think? Yeah, because it's definitely been a very enlightening conversation. Anything else you want to talk about before we end the broadcast?
Not necessarily. I just hope everybody, like I said, have a productive day. Just give praises to the Most High that you woke up again today. Every time you wake up every day, you got another chance to get things right.
Yes, absolutely. All praises to the Most High for everything that's been given and for everything that has been taught to us as far as the principles that have been laid out through the word. And just so all the people listening to the show, no matter what your belief system is, no matter what your congregation or your religion is, or if you are somebody who's on the fence with religion or doesn't have a belief system or whatever the case may be, just understand that you are a spiritual being. You are the manifestation of the great creator of that which is and always will be. And you are energy. Energy never dies. It just transfers. It just transforms. And now is the time for us to transform into the best spiritual beings having this physical experience that we can have and make the most of it and really stick to this truth, because the truth is trending, baby. And if there's ever been a time to be I don't want to say proud, but to have a certain type of pride is in this truth. Pride in knowing that there's been a legacy of lies that now are being exposed. And enough is enough. And we have to respect who we are and not have mainstream media or any of these low-level, malevolent, draconian institutions dictate who we are as men and women and as spiritual beings. having this physical experience while serving the Most High and learning how to become the best version of ourselves. So with that being said, brothers and sisters, I want to thank Brother Auxakai for coming on to episode 88, Simping in the Darkness. And check out his podcast, Alpha Talk Series. It's on multiple platforms, Spreaker, Apple, Spotify, and many others. Definitely check out 101 with Auxakai on the Network of Awareness. And brothers and sisters, like I always say, let's get some music out here so we can rock it out accordingly. When you live in the present, there is always an opportunity for a new beginning. Don't look for the light at the end of the tunnel, brothers and sisters, because the light is and always will be within you. So light up the darkness in that tunnel and find your way through that darkness to that everlasting salvation with the Most High. Peace, Barakatah, and all praises to the Heavenly Father, our great Creator, that which is and always will be, Yah Elohim.
Know you listening to the one and only Auxakai.
Hey yo, drop it.
tuned in to the network of awareness.
Yeah, Auxakai, ORRa, take one. It was only a mad time for this to happen. We about to hit you some bars to resonate with your soul. Bar Smiths, let's go. Let me talk my shit. American dream is nothing more but a mirage to keep you enslaved, controlled by the synagogues. They gave us a white man with blue eyes, called him God. Malcolm X started to learn before you sabotage the truth that Muhammad Elijah was a fraud. The whole Islam nation, nothing but facade. You industry niggas, nothing but some cheap rods. Riding them balls of Satan, giving his dick a massage. America's Babylon, hidden in camouflage. Brotherhood recruitment and Masonic lodge. Triple scoops of the cold truth, that's how them dies. Taking shots that even Neil can't dodge. Land of the eagle, robbing you for your morals, promoting hair and evil. Heavily surveillance that every camera can see. GMO processing everything that defeats you. Wicked ways of the world is hidden in this meat.
Thank God I'm alive. This world's so empty, I need you with me everywhere I go. I'm fighting day by day and night. Hope you can spare my soul.
There is no world trade, now the world trades in pain. Is this an accident? It's more simple than strange, we trapped in it. Perhaps a tragic tactic, the form that makes us the sanction. Internet interactions, following your bad habits. No matter how much you make it, they always got their eye on it. It's evident the government don't want a peasant resident become activist artists who owns business or residence. Cause sooner or later, we're residing right next to them, controlling your next of kin, teaching them the world of sin. They only learn the worst of it, every kid will quit. With barcodes and biochips, slowly we accepting it, pretending it's benefiting. But I didn't wanna know what you be heading and what you're getting and selling. Cause in Armageddon, Big Brother is overprotected. So you always say yes to him, he wants to be respected. When our service has expired, he'll get tired and we all be irrelevant.
Thank God I'm alive. This world's so empty, I need you with me everywhere I go. I'm fighting day by day and night. Hope you can spare my soul.
Hey. On the surface he's grinding, but deep inside he's crying, trying to keep his eyes on the prize to keep them aside smiling. All stacked against him, he leans on Yada, not fall to violence. And when he call on Yaya, responds with such flawless timing. His environment's filled with zombies, it's not the brightest. Finding ways to escape this place, he gets lost with rhyming. Using his gift to uplift, but also constant reminder that somewhere someone needs his songs to give all praise to Yahweh.
Don't worry, just don't worry. Yahweh, then Yahweh's gonna bring us home.
Hey, got the heart of a lion, armor all on his body. This shoot's the hardest thing ever, but still he costs the mileage. Deep in the trenches where wickedness prospers all the time. It's like the good gets punished just for doing what is smart and righteous. As the stars are aligning, Yahweh's calling his finest. All united, not divided. Tough road, but I think I'm alive.
Thank God I'm alive. This world's so empty, I need you with me everywhere I go. I'm fighting day by day and night. Hope you can spare my soul.
Peace, brother. I don't have a lot of time, They got the dogs on me. You know, they really trying to get me to take this science appliance, brother. And you know I'm not doing that, man.
Oh, where you at?
Not doing it. I'm in an undisclosed location right now. Up in the nature spot near that cabin I used to go to. But they got the dogs tracking me. They got the satellites. So they eventually gonna get here. I got it barricaded, you know what I'm saying? Because the only way I'm taking that jab is if I'm in a bag, brother. So I just want to tell you this before anything else happens, and I want to get this out to you and let you know. Alright, brother, They at the door. I gotta tell you, just listen, brother, just listen. Now it's time to get out your own way. Allow Yahweh, today is your day to amaze in many ways, cause it's just another phase in this infinite space where y'all be giving us grace. I'm working the race with diligent praise, unwavering faith. I'll be damned if I stray from y'all's will and embrace. Man sealed his fate with his ignorant ways. The world is disgraced, vibration has raised at a very fast pace. I'm present today in high frequency waves. No more being enslaved, all praise to Yahweh. A Hebrew warrior from the land of the brave. From the cradle to the grave to my very last day. Send a serpent to his cave, God favored my way. Never fearful or timid, it was written and given. No religion, division can stop a messenger that's fulfilling his mission.
It'll only get worse before they get better, but the storm ain't meant to last forever. Even when the light is dim, the sun finds a way to shine again. Things are getting ugly, things are getting cold, but I know it's best to stay in my zone. And I can't stop now, I can't stop now.
Hey, I can't stop and won't stop, I gotta keep propelling. Final destination is a room in the heavens. Diligence and militant, his will is my medicine. I can live without a half, but his love is my everything. COVID is on the road, got the world on its toes. So many sheep with their eyes closed. Hey sir, would you like to take the jab? Man, kiss my ass, stop living by what the news told you. You got injustice, brutality saturating the streets. Blood spilling for no reason, thanks to the police. Meanwhile, syringes are being taken with speed. Can't do it, you ain't sticking no vaccination to me. Despite all the chaos, I still manage to stay on the right path. Gotta keep my focus and my faith strong. All day long, let spiritual music play on. All the honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh.
Things only get worse before they get better, but the storm ain't meant to last forever. Even when the light is dim, the sun finds a way to shine again. Things are getting ugly, things are getting cold, but I know it's best to stay in my zone. And I can't stop now, I can't stop now.
Can't stop, I won't stop. 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 Can't stop, I won't stop.
This concludes the Network of Awareness podcast. For more information on the Network of Awareness, please subscribe via email to our website, networkofawareness.com, and follow us on Spreaker.com or any other listening apps you use. For any questions about the NOA, email us at ORRa@networkofawareness.com. Thank you for listening to one of the fastest growing podcast shows on society and culture in America and abroad. When you live in the present, there's always an opportunity for a new beginning. Peace and blessings.